Hey everybody, Big Mike back here with you again. This is Big Mike Sports. We are Atlanta-born, Carolina-raised,
The one
Detroit-driven,
and only. I'm back!
and I'm in this horror movie slash exploitation movie group. And the other day, there was a little post about this infamous, I guess classic of the genre by now, one of the most grotesque movies ever made, by the name of, and you can look it up for yourself. It's probably look up like most controversial movies of 1980, the year it came out. But anyway, this is one of the most, disturbing films ever made. Obviously, there's still some like satirical quality to it. Otherwise, it would just be trash and schlock. But very heavy-handed way to make the point. And there were some comments on the post saying, "Wow, I can't believe that a movie this offensive was ever able to get made." Obviously it has its artistic qualities, but still one of the most shocking movies ever made. And the person below them says, "I can't believe that you just assumed that something would offend me, or uh, that this movie is offensive, blah 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 blah." And it's like, dude, the name of the movie is. I think we can generally consider that to be pretty offensive, no matter who you are. Like most people would assume that, yeah, that movie is pretty offensive. But anyway, everybody's sensibilities were offended last night as we had to sit through some of those mediocre Monday Night Football ever seen. The Panthers and Saints and the Steelers at Browns. Not exactly the most, you know, watchable games, I guess. Like not ones that you're really excited to see necessarily. I mean, the Browns Steelers ended up being pretty good at the end. Like both games picked up at the end, but still matchups between pretty mediocre teams. I mean, the Saints end up going 2-0 to start the year somehow, and the Panthers fall to 0-2, and then the Browns started off 1-0, which gave them kind of hope, like, oh, maybe they can come out with this new look offense. Maybe Watson will be different this year. Look a little better. But no, it was just more of the same from last year. I mean, the very first play of the game, Watson throws that pick six to really set the tone. And if you're really trying to go in and make a statement, start 2-0 and win at the Steelers, you got to be better than that. I mean, that's pretty bad. And then to top it off, to bookend it at the end of the game, that fumble return for a touchdown to really put it away for the Steelers. I mean, neither offense really played very well. They were both struggling to move the ball at all points of the game. And the Steelers' defense ended up giving them the victory in that one. The Browns' defense still pretty good also, but wasn't able to force the turnovers or get the touchdowns and the scores that the Steelers defense was able to. So big game from the Steelers. Obviously, their brand of football isn't going anywhere, relying on the defense and doing just enough on offense, I guess, if you can consider what they did on offense just enough. I mean, the offense is bad. The play calling's bad. Kenny Pickett's not getting the help that he needs. I mean, some of the receivers showed up. Like, there's a nice grab by Pickens. But overall, the Steelers' offense is not in a good place and they're not making any changes. So it's going to look like this for the entire Steelers season. They'll probably end up going, like 9-8, going to hover right around 500 with that really good defensive play, being able to keep them in games. And if you're the Browns, Watson looks bad. The defense wasn't able to make enough plays to stop. I mean, I guess they did. The offense for the Steelers didn't really do a whole lot, but they weren't able to force the turnovers or make a score or anything. And then you lose Chubb for the season, who was like your entire offense. Uh, Amari Cooper not necessarily showing up yet. I mean, Jerome Ford looked pretty good. We'll see if he can keep that production up. But yeah, not a very good look for the Browns. It looks like it's going to be a struggle for them this year. And then the Saints doing what they have to do to win. Carr airing it out a little bit. He did throw an interception, not a whole lot of, touchdowns or anything like that. Olave getting his receptions, nice little deep threat there. But the main concern is with the Panthers. I mean, Bryce Young, 4.2 air yards per attempt through his first two games, third fewest in NFL history. You gotta let Bryce cook. I mean, you gotta let that dude uncork it every once in a while and really, take some shots down the field. Like, obviously, he's not necessarily the kind of quarterback who's gonna air it out 50 yards down the field every time. But you got to let him open up the offense a little bit. Got to let him play his game, and if he wants to, throw it down the field, throw it down the field with him. I mean, you can't really replicate Deshaun Watson's rookie season and some of the amazing stuff that he was able to do. But just let your rookie throw it deep, and maybe you might be able to get something similar to Watson in his rookie year. I mean, you got the deep threats for it. You got some guys with speed on the outside with Shark and guys like that. So you just gotta let the guy play. You can't be playing not to lose if you're Frank Reich. You gotta really try and see just what your offense can do. You can't be too conservative. You gotta, especially if you want to win. You're not gonna be favored in a lot of games. So open it up. Why not? You got nothing to lose, and you'll see what your quarterback's got. Now you don't want to get him hurt, but you don't have to do anything too crazy. Just maybe a little intermediate pass every now and then instead of just checkdowns every time. So not the greatest games. They were entertaining at the end though, with the Steelers making that play to win the game, and then the Panthers made a little comeback in the fourth quarter. But yeah, not the greatest football you've ever seen, especially for a doubleheader like week 2. Hopefully, some of the other games later on in the season will do a little better.
Yeah!
And now with the fantasy football season in full swing, we got a couple of matchups underneath our belts. We're going to do a little fantasy football risers and sinkers here. Now, these rising guys are some guys that hopefully you drafted late or were able to pick up on the waiver wires in case one of your guys went down. So, yeah, let's get into it a
Check the
little bit.
statistics.
So the big one to start the list is Kyren Williams, one of the many new Rams faces on that offense that's really doing well for them the first couple of weeks of the year, to say the least. I mean, a couple of big touchdowns his first game, and he's just kept it going from there. One rushing touchdown, one receiving touchdown week 2. Really tearing it up against that San Francisco defense. I mean, there were some people who picked him up and thought, maybe let's just wait on it because he's going against San Francisco, one of the better defenses against the run. And so maybe let's wait and see. Maybe wait and see if he'll be able to do it again. And he did it again in maybe even better fashion. I mean, he scored like 28 points last week. So this is a guy who's going to challenge for a running back 1 spot for the rest of the season if he can keep this kind of production up, especially with that Rams running back position being the way that it is. I mean, Cam Akers isn't going to be there. So it's his for the taking. And he's doing quite well for himself so far. And Brian Robinson, big game on Sunday against the Broncos. Really helped the Commanders win that comeback win. And then Jerome Ford for the Browns. Nick Chubb out for the year probably, and Ford looked pretty good. So if he's able to continue that kind of production well into the season, I mean, the Browns are going to try and run it as much as they can anyway. Another guy to look out for. And then Mustard, that's the guy that I liked in the later rounds because he's got that high-end speed. He's had some injury history that kind of turns some people off, but when he's on the field, he's really good at getting like a 5 yards per carry sort of thing. So big game from him. And then Tyler Algier, still a role on the team for him for the Falcons. Bijan's like a top 5 running back right now, but Algier is still getting plenty of carries and plenty of production with it. And then speaking of getting protection when you're on the field is DeAndre Swift, who in that Thursday night game went off when given the opportunities because all the other running backs were injured. And that was something that I was really looking forward to, seeing if Swift would be able to make the most of his opportunity there, and he did. So whenever he's going to have the chance to be on the field for a long period of time, that's definitely a guy that I would put out there. Then on the receiver side, Mike Evans showing that he can still do it for the Buccaneers. Never had any doubt. The dude gives you production every year, year in, year out. There's nothing stopping Mike Evans. Low-key, one of the greatest receivers of all time. I mean, he had that receiving streak there for 10 straight 1,000-yard seasons or something like that. So Mike Evans still doing it. And then Puka, the other Ram that's really showing out, replacing Cooper Kupp in that slot receiver spot as the Rams starting out wide receiver 3, but I guess now you call him wide receiver 1. I mean, he's taking over the Kupp role and excelling. Most receptions in his first 2 games of any receiver in NFL history. So Puka, that guy, I don't know how long he's going to be able to keep it up, but Stafford loves feeding that one receiver. Like some of the greatest receiving seasons ever have been from the right arm of Stafford. So interesting development there. We love Puka here. And Nico Collins, big target for Stroud in that big game that he had on Sunday. He threw for 384 yards. So good to see Stroud doing what I wish Bryce Young would be doing, being able to air it out like that. Brandon Ayuk, huge game for the 49ers against the Rams. huge deep threat. Like, I don't know where it's been his whole career, but if it's starting to happen now, we're on board with that. Happy to see him actually perform up to like those kind of stellar expectations that he's had for a long time. And then Josh Reynolds for the Lions catching those two touchdown passes, really big stuff from him. He's a guy who has always had a connection with Goff ever since they were in LA. And so he's always a guy who's going to be bubbling under in that offense, especially when he needs somebody other than Amon Ra to target. Josh Reynolds is Goff's guy. Then Jordan Addison, the rookie receiver for the Vikings, I had some questions about him at the beginning of the year, so I wasn't quite sure how he would perform given all the stuff like off the field and everything. But I took a flyer on him in one league in the late rounds, and you got to be pleased with what he's doing. I mean, that they probably found their complement to Justin Jefferson right here. I mean, Addison is that guy, can really stretch the field, so he's looking really good. Vikings could be doing better, obviously. They want to start at 0-2. It takes the offense a little while to get going, as they have under Kevin O'Connell for his entire tenure, really. But by the end of the game, they usually put up a lot of stats. So those Vikings receivers looking pretty good. And obviously, Addison might be doing better than Justin Jefferson right now. I mean, Jefferson was the first overall pick for most people. Not performing up to that standard quite yet. By the end of the year, he'll probably be back up there. But yeah, Addison, really nice piece there. And then on the other hand, we had to do it to him. It's the sinkers, the stinkers,
That's
the
terrible.
guys who have not performed up to expectations quite yet. These could be guys who you drafted kind of high or maybe took a flyer on in the later rounds, but have not panned out. Najee Harris not looking too good to start the year. Damian Pierce, a couple guys who are like kind of mid-round running backs, I guess, like maybe around 3, 4, 5, who aren't quite performing quite yet. And then Josh Jacobs, I took him pretty high in at least one draft. Not super impressive so far, but he's definitely got a chance to come back. And I mean, last game he had -2 rushing yards, but still had like 8 points from all the receptions and stuff. So he's a guy who will still be a part of the offense no matter what. Like he's gonna get his touches. And Chubb went down for the season. Sorry if you drafted him super high. I've never really been a big Chubb guy. Some people have been in the past, but I've just never really been a huge fan. So yeah, he's out for the year now. So hopefully you can find one of the risers as a replacement if they're still out there on the waiver wire. And then Dalvin Cook for the Jets. Him and Zeke. I was not going to touch either of these guys in the draft. Didn't see anything happening for them, and it's looked about the part. I mean, these guys haven't had any production. If you thought that Cook was going to be the running back one, well, Brees Hall kind of recovers. Well, Brees Hall showed you what was up week one when he busted out some huge runs. So Brees Hall, the talent is still there. That's why we still take Brees Hall. And yeah, Cook and Elliott, no, just no. And then Jamar Chase, the Bengals' offensive woes continuing in week two. You wonder when they're gonna put it together. I mean, I don't know what happened if they're just like I really don't know what to tell you with the Bengals. And AJ Brown for the Eagles, he's been a little angry with some of the looks that he's been getting, which is not many. So, but the Eagles offense is another one that's kind of struggled early. Jalen Hurts got his legs back underneath him, going in for rushing touchdowns, kind of settle himself down and kind of even himself out. So the passing game will come, but not 100% yet. But AJ Brown's definitely a guy, along with Jamar Chase, who will definitely turn it up by the end of the season for sure. Then DeAndre Hopkins, that's another one of those vet guys like Cook or Elliott that I just was not interested in any capacity. If you drafted Hopkins thinking he still had something in the tank, he doesn't. I mean, they've said all offseason how he can barely even move anymore. So yeah, not a good look for Hopkins or the Titans for that matter. I mean, the Titans were still hanging into the game, but it's not a good look for them. It's looking like kind of like 7-10ish. Definitely the end of that kind of run there that they had. Then Cooper Cup, he hasn't had a chance to get on the field, but if he does get back on the field, you kind of wonder how it'll be. I mean, he's obviously still a target magnet, but will Puka suck some of that up, or will he be more of like a compliment, and Cup will still get his if the attention kind of goes on Puka, which I kind of doubt. I kind of think that once Coop comes back, the attention will be on Cup, which would give Puka even more opportunities. So I maybe the upside isn't necessarily there, but definitely a floor for Cup once he comes back. You know, he'll definitely get 10 to 12 points on any given Sunday. The touchdowns will determine if he gets more than that. Stafford still loves Cup more than anybody, probably, besides Calvin Johnson. But yeah, interesting little development there. And then Jerry Judy, the Denver offense doing a lot better with Sean Payton. They almost came back in incredible fashion against the Commanders there. But yeah, it's still an offense, still trying to find its footing, still trying to figure out who they want to connect with, and Judy has not been one of them so far. So um, the Broncos offense, will they keep going with it? Will he get some more looks as they kind of start to figure things out? Who knows? But so those are the guys who really need to start turning it around. Only 2 weeks in, not the end of the world if you have some of these guys. There's still upside there for a few of them. But if you drafted some of these guys, Cook, I don't know what to tell you.
You're not just wrong, you're stupid.
Yeah, so that's what we're doing today. We'll answer some fan questions tomorrow. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you again next time. We still got fantasy basketball coming up, and some maybe a little bit of college football betting. We're doing pretty well so far in the college football season on that perspective. So we'll definitely do a little bit of that maybe Thursday and Friday. So stay tuned, and
Take him to Detroit.
yeah, we'll see you.